Hello, everyone. Warhammer 40,000 is Amazon. Henry Cavill is undoubtedly now among the most anticipated and discussed TV projects in the world. Especially intriguing to viewers in this context is the question of which specific story they will adapt for us, and who besides Henry himself will take on this adaptation. Well, today we have something very interesting on the topic. As some English language publications report, including authoritative ones like Deadline, Prime Video is indeed aiming to show viewers the story of Gregor Eisenhorn. Yes, by the way, this is precisely the version that was considered among fans as one of the most plausible options for the first adaptation in Astartes, and apparently that's how it will be. Plus, they named the showrunner. Well, or more precisely, the person who is most likely to take this place because Amazon is not in a hurry with official confirmations. Although the network is already circulating some general synopsis, not so much of one future series as of the general world that Amazon and Games Workshop will build. This is, of course, impressive. So, let's get down to business. We learned a couple of months ago that the final deal between Games Workshop and Amazon was finally signed, and after this, the official work on the Power Hammer 40K series began. But again, do not rush and do not run ahead because, as reported in Games Workshop, work is work, but they will still be ironing out all the nuances with Amazon for a whole year, finalizing their agreement, building the concept of cooperation, and generally monitoring the direction in which the first adaptation of Vahi is starting to move. That is, as I understand it, the company, having already seen what was done in Prime Video with their Rings of Power and Tolkien's legacy, does not want to let things go on their own in the matter of Warhammer. And Games Workshop is like, no, we are taking another year to settle all these issues. On the one hand, this is of course good. On the other hand, it seems that this year we should not expect any rapid events or big news about Vahi. But that's just how it seemed, because now an article from Deadline has surfaced on the network, telling us about the plans of Games Workshop for the adaptation of Warhammer. And if you believe other English language publications, the company has now returned to these previous plans, now with Amazon. So maybe we knew earlier how everything would be. But then no one paid particular attention to it. So, what does the Deadline article say? Exclusive, the creator of The Man in the High Castle, Frank Spotnitz, is developing an epic fantasy series based on the Warhammer 40,000 universe from Games Workshop. This is the first big-budget TV series based on the extremely popular tabletop games, miniatures, and novels of the military empire. The company B Light Productions, Spotnitz, is developing a sci-fi and fantasy series set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, where humanity is on the brink of destruction. Here, for understanding, let not confuse you that Amazon does not figure in the article, because the fact is that Prime Video, as a giant streaming platform, often still orders its content from other contractors, or at least is involved in development jointly with them. So, it's not surprising that the company of the possible showrunner of the Vahi adaptation is also involved. As for Mr. Spotnitz himself, whom Deadline called the showrunner of the future project, and other publications confirm that he is indeed the main candidate for this role, he is now 63 years old. Frank Spotnitz is an American television screenwriter and executive producer, chief executive officer of Big Light Productions, a London and Paris television company, was a co-author and showrunner of the dystopian series The Man in the High Castle, which received almost 8 points rating on IMDb. Well, that is, in general, this guy has quite a bit of experience, although we also cannot say anything very specific about him. And immediately answering the question like, and what about Henry Cavill? Look here, it's important not to confuse. Henry will become the executive producer of the future adaptation, and probably its main star. But at the same time, Amazon themselves stated that they are looking for a person for the role of showrunner. That is, this is still a more important role. Well, if you compare it like this, It's like some kind of main captain, and the executive producers, of which there may be 2, 4, or 5. These are rather his assistants. So, one does not cancel the other. Nevertheless, I am sure that for many it will be even more interesting to discuss what was written in the article, specifically about the theme of the future adaptation. Deadline and other publications report that the fans of Vahi, who believed that the debut series would adapt the stories of Inquisitor Eisenhorn, turned out to be right. In general, this is quite sane, because this theme is usually called one of the simplest and most understandable, so to speak, entry points into the universe of Vahi. So it's not surprising that the streamer, chose it. Let's listen for now, while the armies of humanity lead an endless war on millions of battlefields. In the dark rages a secret conflict in which agents of the Imperial Inquisition participate. Relying on the genres of science fiction, fantasy, and crime, the Eisenhorn series will show how Inquisitor Gregor Eisenhorn and his group of investigators fight to thwart the monstrous plans of Xenos, heretics, and demons before the fate of humanity is decided. The Eisenhorn series will be based on the novels of British comic book writer and novelist Dan Abnett, who worked on books for the Games Workshop Black Library, as well as for Marvel. The Eisenhorn trilogy was originally published in 2001. Well, something like that. So, I think these are great news. Personally, I would of course like the Amazon series, as previously reported in other sources, to show us the Horus Heresy, but at the same time, I understand that this epic is probably too large and complex not only for one, but even for 5 series. Here, you need to build immediately a whole cinema and television universe, to which Amazon is also actually aimed. So, maybe sometime, and the heresy will come, but for now, it seems wiser to start with something not so majestic and grandiose. What do you think? You can write your thoughts about this in the comments, and we will now quote the words of the future potential showrunner of the project, Frank Spotnitz. We are delighted to collaborate with Games Workshop to turn the beloved imaginative world of Warhammer 40,000 into a TV series. Warhammer 40K is steeped in a rich and complex history, a multitude of traditions and legends that have accumulated over time in this exciting and complex world, which makes it one of the most fascinating projects for adaptation for the television audience and dedicated global fans of the franchise. There is nothing like it on television, and we are incredibly excited to use our own experience in creating creative, complex, and captivating worlds to transfer this incredible saga to the screen. Andy Smiley, global head of marketing and media at Games Workshop, said in turn, "We are very pleased to work with Frank and his team at Big Light. Warhammer 40,000 has a huge fan base around the world. This passionate community of Warhammer fans loves to interact with our characters, stories, and games. I am sincerely glad that we will be able to create a show that will reward their loyalty. Inquisitor Eisenhorn is one of the most beloved characters in our worlds, and we are happy to share his feats and adventures with both old and new audiences. Frank and his outstanding team at Be Light have done amazing things with other objects, bringing complex worlds to the screen, and we can't wait to see what our partnership will bring in the dark darkness of Warhammer 40,000. Dan Abnett, the author of the books, said about them and the future adaptation, "Gregor Eisenhorn is a ruthless force in the dark future of the Hammer universe, a destroyer of demons and a purifier of heretics, uncompromising, powerful, and dedicated to his cause. But from the moment I started writing him, I was attracted by his complexity. He is not the simple and ruthless hero he seems. His battle with the warp leads him to dark places and forces him to question his duty, his understanding of the Imperium, and his own identity. With Eisenhorn, it's not just adventures, although they are certainly bright. It's the journeys he takes to the very limits of who he is and what it means to him to be faithful." Well, something like that if you want to understand a little wider what the series, or rather probably series about Vahi from Amazon will be about. Then here is a short synopsis description that recently hit the network. Humanity stands on the brink of destruction as aliens and heretics threaten the Imperium from all sides. The waning years of the 41st millennium. This is an era of constant war in which history, reason, and hope are erased into dust under the relentless weight of the waning years. Enlightenment is replaced by superstition, understanding by rote rhetoric and blind prayer. War is all that remains. The discovery of the Great Rift, dividing the galaxy in two, was preceded by an era of dark omens and important events. The seers of mysticism went mad with fear. They raved. An unstoppable fusion of nightmares, black storm clouds gathering to eclipse the light of hope. It was a time of desperate heroism, great triumphs, and bitter defeats, spinning in the relentless wheel of fate. After this great calamity, humanity faced existential threats from traitors, heretics, and the empire of Xenos from all sides. Imperial defenders are exhausted, responding to the invasion of orcs, awakening Necrons, expanding Tau Empire, and much more. Into this whirlpool of conflict enters a threat long considered defeated, a threat from the hive fleets of the Tyranids. These hordes of predatory, constantly adapting life forms attack the Imperium from unexpected directions. Will the warriors of humanity be able to repel them, or will the invaders continue their way to the Holy Terra? Well, how impressed. Personally, me so much that I can't wait to see even a glimpse of what and how Amazon and their team are doing in this adaptation. Well, alas, for now, that's all for us covered in darkness. Although, nevertheless, I think today we have learned so much intriguing. So, we will wait and monitor the situation further. If you do not want to miss anything, subscribe to our channel and be sure to click on the bell, as well as put a thumbs up. Write your comments. Thank you all for watching, and bye for now.